Although flying is regarded as one of the most secure kinds of travel, turbulence has the power to make even the most composed travelers into anxious wrecks. Turbulence contributed to some of the scariest incidents in aviation history, from a refreshment cart soaring over the French Alps to a bumpy trip. These are truly heart-stopping circumstances. We're going to look at some of the most amazing examples of plane turbulence that have ever been captured on camera in this video. So let's get into it right away. Number 1. Renowned for being an extremely inexpensive airline, Frontier Airlines is based in Denver, Colorado. The airline has been assisting customers in saving money on flights since the mid-1990s, even though costs are still rising. However, one of the strongest turbulence patches ever captured on camera occurred on October 25, 2019, when passengers aboard Frontier Flight 226 from Denver to Baltimore witnessed it. When the airplane trembled severely and everyone begged for health and safety, one passenger captured the entire experience on camera. The nervousness and unpredictability that pervaded the cabin as the turbulence rocked the jet about is captured on camera. Among the planet's most erratic occurrences is turbulence. It may affect your trip in a few various manners. It seems likely that clear air turbulence, which is particularly difficult to deal with because it is invisible before impact, was present on this particular flight. Though the jet landed securely in Baltimore, the passengers were disturbed by the ordeal. Even the most seasoned pilots can't always avoid flying into an unforecasted area of high turbulence, as the pilot subsequently stated. Number 2. It's time to turn our attention to the US. Red Air Flight 2023, which started out in the Dominican Republic, was making its way down to Miami International Airport on June 21, 2022. Something catastrophic happened as this plane was approaching the ground. Left wing skidding against ground resulted in the plane's left main landing gear collapsing during touchdown. Just before the aircraft came to a halt, the nose and right landing gears gave way as well, seriously damaging the front portion of the aircraft and starting a fire on the right side. It was not their biggest concern though, as the plane also ran into a communication tower en route. Thank goodness, everyone on board, including the crew, escaped the aircraft unscathed. Nevertheless, the accident's cause is still unknown as of right now. It might have been the result of poor production quality, or just terrible luck. In any case, this event is a clear reminder of how easily things may go wrong during a landing, particularly when turbulence isn't predicted. Number 3. The go-arounds, a vital safety feature that enables pilots to cancel a landing when they do not believe it's secure. A cyclone abruptly flared up on May 29, 2022, while a Boeing 737 was trying to make a landing in central Sulawesi, Indonesia, causing considerable turbulence. The pilot took the correct decision to abandon the landing and go back, rather than taking a chance on a hazardous landing. The cabin is shown trembling in the video taken inside the aircraft as people cry, scream, and pray. After the storm passed, and the pilot decided it was safe to land, the aircraft flew for another 30 minutes. A research conducted by the Flight Safety Foundation found that if the pilot had just flown the aircraft rather than trying to land in hazardous conditions, almost half of all aviation accidents might possibly have been prevented. Number 4. The next tale we have is about a famous couple who, on March 1, 2023, nearly meet their demise. While traveling from Austin, Texas to Frankfurt, Germany, Lufthansa Flight 469 came over a strong turbulence patch that almost brought the aircraft down. The Airbus A330 abruptly fell 4,000 feet toward the ground when it was traveling at 37,000 feet above Tennessee. Everything on the aircraft took off, including the food trays, water bottles, pillows, and luggage. As the jet descended, those without seatbelts were hurled throughout the cabin. Footage captured in the wake of the turbulence shows the interior of the aircraft in utter chaos, with the passengers sitting in stunned shock. Some were reportedly so terrified that they started phoning their loved ones, thinking this may be their final opportunity to talk to them. To conduct a check on the travelers and give an explanation of what had transpired, the captain strolled around the cabin. In his whole career, he said, he hadn't witnessed anything such. After the jet attempted a forced landing in Virginia, 7 passengers were transported with slight wounds to a nearby hospital. The strong turbulence was caused by powerful winds that were passing through the Tennessee area when the jet flew over. Several criticized how the airplane was permitted to fly over such a hazardous location, but this serves as a warning that unplanned events can occasionally occur in the skies, even with the finest of preparation. Number 5. Not as lucky was a 2019 incident involving people on an airplane from Pristina, Serbia to Basel, Switzerland. The aircraft experienced extreme turbulence during its voyage, which also carried it over the Alps. You can observe the reason why it's imperative that you use a seatbelt in this video. A flight staff member and the food cart collided with the airplane ceiling due to the abrupt drop. Drinks were sent flying, and several passengers suffered minor burns from the scalding hot water. The turbulence struck suddenly, catching everyone off guard just 20 minutes before landing after the jet had passed over the mountains. Panic and chaos filled the cabin as passengers clung to their seats, trying to brace for the next jolt. Despite the severity of the situation, the flight crew acted swiftly to assist the injured and reassure the passengers. Fortunately, the plane managed to land safely in Basel, and everyone on board was able to disembark despite their wounds. This harrowing experience underscores the unpredictable nature of turbulence and the critical importance of keeping seatbelts fastened throughout the flight. Number 6. Let's now shift our attention to Asia, where on December 3, 2023, China Eastern Airlines, among the 3 main airlines operating in the region, had a near miss. One of the Airbus aircraft was traveling from Shanghai to Hong Kong on this specific day when a terrible mishap occurred. The plane shook a lot as it was cruising because one of its fan blades broke. The people were sitting in stunned silence, not knowing what was going on because they were so afraid. From the time the problem started until the plane made a safe landing in Xiamen, a coastal city between Hong Kong and Shanghai, there was strong shaking for 20 minutes. After hearing a loud blast coming from the left wing, passengers stated that a burning smell permeated the cabin. The plane had landed securely, and those on board were moved to another flight that would take them back to Shanghai, despite the traumatic ordeal. Number 7. The biggest airline in the Middle East, Emirates Airlines, operates 3,600 weekly flights from its hub in Dubai to 150 destinations in 80 countries. When an Emirates Airbus A380 was making a scary landing in Düsseldorf, Germany on October 5, 2017, it ran into a strong crosswind. The wind started to blow the airplane off track as it got closer to the runway, resulting in what is known as a crab landing. The plane seems to have been landing at an angled position during a crab landing, but it straightens up at the last second. When there are significant crosswinds, pilots perform this maneuver to line up the nose of the aircraft with the runway. The breeze in this case was moving from left to right, and the pilot of the plane had to battle it all on his way to the runway. It was a bumpy journey for every person on the board, but fortunately the captain kept possession and made a safe landing. Even though the landing was probably successful, the passengers likely weren't happy with how uneventful it was. Even for seasoned pilots, this clip demonstrates just how hard it might be landing a plane in adverse conditions. Number 8. Another horrifying incident of extreme turbulence occurred in March 2017 for passengers on American Airlines Flight 759 from Athens, Greece to Philadelphia. The Boeing 767 was flying over the Atlantic Ocean when it unexpectedly encountered a clear stretch of air turbulence around 30 minutes before landing. The plane suddenly descended sharply, scattering passengers, flight attendants, and loose objects throughout the cabin. 10 passengers and staff members were hurt because of the extreme turbulence. Several received scratches and bruises from being flung against the ceiling and seats. As the plane began to shake violently and people began to yell and scream, oxygen masks went up. The pilots handled the aircraft with composure and calmness in spite of the terrifying circumstances. The injured were promptly attended to by flight attendants, and the captain declared that an emergency landing was going to occur. When the jet successfully landed in Philadelphia, ambulances were ready to take the injured people to hospitals in the area. Number 9. If you're afraid of turbulence, you may want to refrain from flying over South America's Andes Mountains. Sifted through 150,000 flight paths, the 100-mile trip from Santiago, Chile, to La Paz, Bolivia, is the world's most tumultuous flight path. Travelers on this aircraft frequently encounter the reason the Andes are infamous for extreme turbulence. The 3-hour journey passes nearly completely above them. As pilots struggle to maintain control, passengers can experience severe shaking and jolting, with the plane sometimes dropping hundreds of feet in seconds, making for a harrowing experience you won't soon forget. Number 10. The last video in our list was shot in April of 2011. The aircraft carrying the passengers encountered severe mountain wave turbulence while it was soaring above the French Alps. The food service had just started, and the flight attendants were unprepared to face what came next. The aircraft started shaking strongly throughout as soon as it encountered turbulence. As the plane shook, flight staff fought to maintain hold over the drinks cart, hanging on for their lives. The dramatic video demonstrates how abrupt and powerful turbulence can be. Luckily, the beverage cart was held onto by the flight attendants. Although it's normally innocuous, turbulence is a normal component of flying and may be rather scary when it goes bad. The accounts of events we've shared here serve as a reminder of how erratic the skies can be and emphasize the significance of always adhering to safety precautions, such as wearing a seatbelt at all times. Please hit the like button right now if you like this video and would like to watch more. Subscribe then. We appreciate your time and we'll see you in the following videos.